Good morning, Jerry. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, and headed into the new year, flaming, excited. Good to be on with you, Shan Bobby, and let's go to Nashville.
Yes, sir. Would a loss have affected your next 36 hours? Would it have affected Christmas Eve and Christmas Day?
Absolutely. And am I biting your one-liners already this morning?
No.
I think I'd have canceled Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Well, look, Jerry, let's talk about the game. It was a classic.
Well, I was so proud of this team, and my hope was that we would go out as a team and really show up and do things like we did, come back from adversity, continue to just impose the will of we've got to hang in here and we've got to win this thing, success. And we did that. And, of course, Dak led the way, but I thought we did it in all phases. We were firing at them every chance we could get, and we almost made the big play on special teams, got a little penalty there that pulled that back. But still, the whole game just was one that you're proud of the way the team overcame its mistakes and just beat an outstanding team. That'll get you ready to play for the playoffs.
Yeah, Jerry, let's talk about your quarterback, because last week we were pretty surprised that your comment made such news that Dak played outstanding against Jacksonville. We were like, yeah, obviously we agree. If he played outstanding against Jacksonville, what was that against the Eagles?
Well, I think that everything is relative. I thought that he did play well against Jacksonville. It's a shame that they ended up with the interception and the walk-off win for Jacksonville. But he came back today, Christmas Eve, and showed what happens if you don't make that mistake at the last play of the game. If you make that mistake early, does he have the stability and does he have the will to put that one behind him and go forward? And that showed that in spades. I'm talking about our game against Philadelphia. So two things there. Number one, Jacksonville's got a better team than most of us thought they had, which is credit to them. And secondly, it was good to beat Philadelphia. So we played two good teams here 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, Dak was special against the Eagles, and to be special, you got to have receivers. Jerry, a lot of questions about CeeDee Lamb throughout the year, all the Amari Cooper comparisons. It feels like he has arrived as a true number one in the biggest moments. What can you say about Lamb's development throughout the year?
Well, I think he's accentuating what made him such a great prospect coming out of college. He's outstanding run after catch. I don't think we've seen his best run after catch. But he also does have a real knack for just being in the right spot. He's quarterback friendly. What does all that mean? He catches the ball. He's very physical. He turns it up, and, boy, he goes to the house when he gets his hands on the ball. And those are all things that you want in a receiver. But I'm really proud for us that these last three ball games that he's just been outstanding. And not that he hadn't played some good football before then, but you can see it coming. And we've got a lot even better days ahead for CeeDee Lamb.
Jerry, you told us on Friday that you expected T.Y. Hilton to be involved and counted on, and there's probably no bigger time to count on somebody than throwing a ball 50 yards down the field on 3rd and 30. Just talk about the play there and what you were feeling going through the emotions you went through on that 3rd and 30.
Well, first of all, I see speed. He's got that. He's had it, but he's still got it. And what I saw was savvy and just some combination of natural and experience. You notice he didn't put those hands out way early in his steps with that D-back. as they were running stride for stride. And, of course, that D-back's looking for him to put those hands out so he can put his hands out, too, at the same time and try to knock the ball away. But he waited until that ball looked like it was right there in front of his eyes before he even snatched it over his shoulder. So that's veteran receiving at its very best, and, of course, that takes some skill, too.
And, Jerry, it sounds like he may have a similar impact. Tyler Smith has just talked about the Jason Peters impact. And could we maybe get something similar with T.Y. Hilton helping out CD with that knowledge and the other young guys?
Well, absolutely. And you're talking about Peters?
Yeah, the impact.
Excuse me, I didn't follow your question.
Sorry, the impact that Jason Peters has had from a knowledge standpoint with the young guys, it sounds like T.Y. could maybe impart some of that wisdom with CD and some of the other younger receivers as a veteran.
You can't emphasize those points enough. Those veteran players, if you will, in Jason Peters' case, probably a Hall of Famer. And that experience or those techniques, that little nuances in the game that you just hang on if you're a young player. That's a big part of it. But, of course, what really is important is that those guys can still do it. Jason Peters can really come in there and make a difference for us, and has and will, I think, before this thing is over.
We're talking with Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones here on 105 Through the Fan. Jerry, DaRon Bland as a fifth-round pick has just been absolutely fantastic this year. Had his fifth interception the other day, now leads the team. How big has his impact been, especially when you consider losing two starting corners? There's not a lot of teams that could weather that with a fifth-round pick stepping in.
Well, he physically is an imposing D-back, and that's big. But to come in and play with the savvy and the awareness that he's playing is beyond expectation. Well, he's done that. He's just continuing to get better. And to make the plays that he's make, that not only ability to do your job and be in there and be in the right spots, which is really saying so much in that secondary, but then to be able to make the plays, the significant plays that result in turnover, that's too much. And he's been able to do that for us, and he's an outstanding young player. Boy, am I glad we got him.
Yeah, and it's not just DaRon Bland that you guys were able to scoop up on day three that's had an impact. I mean, you got Jake Ferguson at tight end. Damone Clark has played a lot of critical snaps for you guys at linebacker. Just how important was the job that your scouting staff did this spring to really identify guys on day three who could contribute right away?
Well, I think those scouts are there. They're out there year-round, and they shouldn't be a player that can even spell football in this country that's eligible for the draft that we don't know about. We've got a very experienced, thorough, and well-coached scouting department led by Will Clay. And it is important that that information gets there on the day that we make that decision. And so they do a great job. That's a year-round management. They're managed out in the fields and their visits with players and college teams. And so all of that's a very important part of it. And Will Clay leads that scouting department, and that's very critical. That's a big part. That scouting is a big part of the personnel, year-round personnel. That's not all of it, because we have pro scouting too, and so that pro scouting has to make a big contribution, and that's how you get a T.Y. Hilton.
Now, Jerry, a couple of our guys from the station came back from the stadium, and they were talking about these cheesesteaks. And I was just curious, did y'all serve up a little sirloin with some onions and some queso out there in the spirit of Philadelphia out there at the stadium with these cheesesteaks on the menu?
Hey, you bet we did. We all know what Philadelphia cheesesteaks mean, but and I've had my share of them there in Philadelphia too. But I couldn't believe it. And I think we out Philadelphia on those cheesesteaks, which is always what you're trying to do, of course. And but they do a great job. And boy, if we could play football as well as we put that macaroni and cheese and cheese steaks and things like that, if we could play football as good as we can fix that food out there and serve them up that hospitality, we'd be a champion every year.
So, Jerry, how would you view, we're going to get to the Titans and everything coming up, but how would you view a potential rematch that it feels like the entire world would want to see? They didn't have their quarterback, but Minshew, we thought, played very, very well. You guys have had some issues defensively, but Dak Prescott carried the day. How would you view a potential third game in the postseason with these guys?
Well, I'd love it because that means we're more than likely well into the playoffs. And we should hope that we get a chance to, for all realistic prediction here. But the bottom line is that I think it does make for an interesting matchup. They didn't have Hurt, but Minshew played outstanding. I can't tell you how much respect I have for him. And, boy, he got that ball out quick and got it on the spot for those receivers, and that was frustrating for our pass rush. But he's a really good to real good quarterback that can win a lot of games. But both of us have benefit from a heck of a backup quarterback. We've got Rush, and of course Rush actually in the first game played well and can play well. And so both teams are set up real good with our depth at the quarterback position. Now, this matchup is, of course, a must for us because it means that we're advancing, as I said earlier. So I'm so impressed with this Philadelphia team. I'm so impressed with our win over them. And it's the depth and it's the continuity they have in their offensive line in particular. But, boy, they've got about 6-7 defensive linemen that can all play. So they're going to be a tough team against anybody, including us, in the playoffs if we get there.
Jerry, the practice report came out yesterday evening, and Tony Pollard appeared on it. He did not participate with a thigh issue. Is there any question about his availability for Thursday's game against the Titans?
He looks good for the game. He really does. I know it's a short week, but we don't have him down as something that we're counting on him playing.
And you talked about, how the Eagles, it can frustrate your pass rush when Jalen Hurts is back there. There was a little bit of an issue on Saturday getting to the quarterback with Gardner Minshew back there. There were 40 dropbacks for the Eagles. There wasn't a single quarterback hit. Is there a way that teams are playing your pass rush now to try and neutralize that, or how do you fix that moving forward, trying to generate that pass rush that was so strong early in the season?
Well, let's give Minshew some credit. He was really getting that ball out. But what I was impressed with was how on the money it was when it got to the receiver. And, of course, we were coming hard. Their offensive line had something to do with this conversation. But still, we were putting pressure on him. We were making that urgency in the throws, and that did help us eventually. And so when you get a quarterback pitching and throwing it out there that quick, what we're doing is going to have to be enough, and it turns out it was. And there's some things that you can do. They schemed us pretty good on a couple of those, the way they were set up their routes. They schemed it real good, but we can work on that and get better. But, I agree with you. We'd like to have seen them touch that and get on that quarterback a little more. But overall, I'll take that. I will take that because we were hurrying it up.
Jerry, early on in the season, we were having conversations about, the defense being great or special or elite, and that maybe they were going to have to carry the offense a little bit. Does it feel like that's flip-flopped a little bit? The offense is now ahead of the defense, and that's where we should have a little bit more of our concern for the defense to pick things up as you get ready for the playoffs?
It is so close in detail on both sides of the ball. The nuances of where an interior down lineman may have lined up, or how he was doing that day against certain techniques. And so, and then you get into your linebacking, and your linebacking can have a little distortion, not distortion, but just have a little be off key, be off timing. And boy, that stuff is so close. And I was in there yesterday watching with Will McClay, some of our defensive reps there in the game, and you're just so close to having it executed in a way that allows us to get those pressures, allows us to get through there. We just got to continue to strive for that. But we can improve technique-wise and maybe even scheme-wise and be better at putting some pressure on that passer.
Jerry Jones right here on 105.3 The Fan. Jerry, you remember it's the holidays. Don't get irritated with me, but we got to ask about this sun issue with this Michael Gallup play. We've asked you before about it. People saying, why is the sun playing a factor? You got curtains, pull the curtains closed. What did you think about that play with Michael Gallup, or this issue as it came up again after the Eagle game? Merry Christmas, by the way. Remember that.
Everybody, no problem. Hey, I'm not a bit, but the sun was there for both teams. And so both teams have to look for it. But, we've got about 30 coaches. And so we've got a lot of people, and then they've got assistants. And you don't have any lack of people out there that can tell everybody where that sun is.
Jerry,
so everybody knows where the sun is on both sides of the ball.
Jerry, how are you looking at just your overall positioning right now? We think you're going to be seeing Tom Brady in Tampa. We know that you're in. With the next few games that you have coming up, weighing maintenance and some players resting and working on some different things, just how are you feeling overall right now about y'all's position?
I feel, I'm going to knock on wood to say it, but I feel healthy. Now, we were healthy last year, and we didn't advance past the first round. And San Francisco had everything to do with that. But still, we've got to anticipate that type of game as we enter these playoffs. But we're healthy, and I think we're getting healthier. We've played more players, and we've than any year that I can remember. And so I think availability, which is a big thing in the playoff, is going to serve us well. That could be 2 games early because we're not in the playoffs yet. But I really like what we are being tested on right now. These last 3 weeks for our defense has tested us. We're having to make adjustment. But as I said earlier, we're really having to, on an individual basis, refine those techniques. Well, that's what happens this time of year. These guys have been playing 15 games, 16 games. Think of the reps at training camp they've had. And so the players that don't have limitations with injury are better. The young ones certainly are better. They've been through almost 2 college seasons out there. And so we're an improved team. You can say the same thing about the other teams, but we've got the kind of team in my mind with the mix of with Dak and with the veterans we've got and these young players. Just look at Smith and Tyler Smith. He's a much better player. So these guys have a chance to be ready to go for the playoffs. I feel good about this thing.
Jerry, last offseason, there were reports about Dan Quinn interviewing for the Denver job. That job obviously just came open again on Monday. Are you anticipating, whether with that one or just other things coming up, are you anticipating getting fielding some coordinator calls from around the league asking permission to talk to your guys?
Well, one of the things when you're having success, then you're going to have your what makes you successful looked at by your competition, and that's other teams. And so I don't worry about that. We've got some good rules in place that are very fair to everybody, that say when you can and when you can't. Communicate if you're a team looking for a coach or anticipating looking for a coach in the off season, when you can touch base with an active team, whether it's be at the end of the season or in the playoffs. That's a long-winded way of saying that we'll follow the rules. We obviously I did everything I could to keep Dan last year, and we feel the same way about it this year.
Jerry, last one, because I think this is the only opportunity to ask you for a Titans preview. You got the quick turnaround. You got the Tennessee Titans who have been struggling. How are you looking at this one coming up on Thursday night?
Well, I think this. It's good to get back in Nashville. We haven't been there in many, many, many years. But years ago, I played Santa Claus. We were there on Christmas Eve. And I had these porcelain Santa Clauses with really well done and just detail unbelievable. And I gave one of those to each of our players that were away from their families that night, but I tried to play Santa Claus. And so that's probably the best part of I remember about that particular game, but that was as far back as Aikman. But I'm excited about playing over there. It is a short week. But what is exciting is that, make no mistake about it, they've got a run game that will test us, really test us, and so all this other stuff aside, we got to stop them.
And you can wear the same clothes. You don't even have to take off your boots or your jeans over there, walking into the different bars, singing.
I'll tell you what. I wish they could reverse it. I wish we could play the game and then open the bar, not have the bars open before the game. But I will tell you one thing. I sure love Nashville. I really do, and I have a great legacy. My family has quite a background on my wife's side with Vanderbilt, and a lot of her family have been over there, been at school, and long history with Vanderbilt. So we've got a good feeling there. I went over, took my kids over to watch Michael Jackson there at that big stadium there in Tennessee. I think it was Knoxville. I was mistaken here. I was thinking it was Nashville, but it was Knoxville. So anyway, got a lot of ties there. I grew up around the state, as you know, around the state of Arkansas, and Memphis is a big connection there, natural city to work with that central part of the state and of Arkansas. And so I've got a lot of ties to Tennessee. I played a lot of American Legion baseball. I loved it. And we played a lot of ball over there in Tennessee and around Memphis. So we've got a fond memory of Tennessee.
Well, look, you allowed us all to celebrate Christmas Eve and Christmas Day a little bit better. It was a classic game. Fantastic. Happy holidays to you and the family. And let's go get another one on Thursday. Thank you for your time as always.
Yeah, good to be on with you guys. Bye-bye.